Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Priya and I'm a 5th year medical student at the University of Liverpool. If you haven't checked out any of our previous videos, do go to our channel and watch them, and do show your support by pressing the subscribe button. So today's video is going to be about how to revise in medical school. I'm going to be going through all the different techniques and methods that I tried out from first year all the way up until 5th year. I have to say I've kind of used so many methods, from making notes, making flashcards, to typing up my notes. I've used several different resources. So I thought, let me talk you through everything that I did during medical school, and I'm going to be reviewing what I did right, what went wrong, all my suggestions, my tips and my advice. So if you're interested, keep watching. When I started in first year, I was really confused as to how to revise in medical school, because it's completely different to studying for your GCSEs and your A-levels. Because if you're anything like me, back in school, I just never did any notes. I completely revised from the textbook that was provided by the school, or the textbook that I bought, or CGP revision guides. So I just used to memorize and literally learn from those books, and I used to do a lot of past papers, and that's how I got my grades. But moving in to medical school, it was a big change, because the university doesn't really give us a book which says learn this and you'll pass your exams. There's no such book. So I was really struggling to find the resources that I needed to revise. I also didn't know how to revise, because I felt like there was so much information, so little time, and I didn't know how to organize my time either. So it was really like a learning curve for me when I started medical school. So at Liverpool, we've got lectures, we've got small group sessions, and we have case-based learning, which is known as CBL. For CBLs, we're given a PowerPoint, which kind of covers the learning objectives, and then they give us a couple of cases with a couple of questions that we need to answer. And we have small sessions, whether we're on placement and when we're in uni, we have to go in. There's like about 10 of us. We sit together, we have a tutor present who will go through the cases and work through the questions with us. So before I talk about how I revised, I definitely have to talk about how I planned my revision, because planning is such an important part of revision. So these are my planners over the last 4 years. This was my first planner at medical school, so 2015-16, so I was in first year then. So as you can see over here, I used to write down all the lectures that I had on each of the days, and then I used to write down the lectures I need to get done, as in the notes for them. So for example, on Monday, my plan was to get lecture 10 and 11 done, and on the next day was to catch up lectures and to do lecture number 12. And to just make sure I get all the lectures done by the end of the week, I just used to write the number of lectures at the top of the page. For example, 1 to 18 lectures were covered by October the 16th. So then I just used to tick off as soon as I got the lecture notes done. And I just kept doing that for every week, really. And yeah. Planners, get one, plan your revision. You'll thank yourself. The second bit is again to do with planning, is at the start of every year. And I only really started to do this from second year. What I used to do is I used to go through the curriculum document. So I don't know how many of you will have a curriculum document in your uni, but at Liverpool we had a curriculum document which looked like this. So I've kind of printed it out and I've binded it together because I like having things all in one place. So this document contains all the CBLs that we'll be having and all the learning objectives for each of the CBLs. It'll also include all the lectures we're going to have and the learning objectives for those lectures as well. So what I used to do with that is I went on and I highlighted all the topics from it, so all the conditions. For example, if you look over here, as you can see, like ACS, a hypertension, ECG interpretation, and so on. So this is what I used to do. I used to turn that about 40-50 page document into like a one sheet, which kind of shows all the CBLs that I'll be having. Like you can see here, I've written down all the lectures during lecture week 1, and then I've ticked it every time I went through it, every time I revised it. So this is quite good because it helps you to see how many times you've gone through each of the stuff. If there are any lectures that you have only ever looked at once, you could see it right in front of you. I came across this checklist which was circulated around our university. I'm not sure who made it, but I thought it was really good. So this is the list, and as you can see from here, it has a lot of medical conditions on here. There are about 273 conditions, and my plan was to do notes for each of the conditions. And to make my life easier, I worked along with one of my friends, SUMMARISED. We just split the notes in half. So he did all the conditions that I've highlighted in yellow, and I did all the conditions highlighted in pink. By 3rd and 4th year, especially 4th years, if you're writing your exams, you kind of need to know almost all the main topics and conditions in medicine. So you can't really go wrong by revising from the sheet, because if you cover all of this, you kind of know a majority of all the conditions out there, common conditions out there. So we try to summarize every single condition into one page. We purely based our notes on things like Cowarren clocks, BMJ best practice, NICE guidelines, and Oxford Handbook. We try to use more than 2 resources for each of our notes just to make sure that we have all the details. So that's how I planned my revision, and that's how I organized my revision. So I'm sure you guys can do the same thing. Just get your curriculum document out, or get all the titles of your lectures, write them out all in one page at the start of the year, so then you could start ticking as you go along. So you can visualize how many times you've revised each topic, how many, like all the topics that you find hard, you could highlight it. It really helps to know how revision is going, and I think that will help reduce the stress. So I'm just going to talk to you guys about all the resources that I used. So in first year, for anatomy and physiology, I used Lippincott's, McKinley's and Tortora. And I know there are other people who use the clinical science book, some people use cell biology, and they were just all too wordy for me, like it's too complicated. With medicine, there's so many conditions, you're going to have so many lectures, you just don't have the time to read in depth about everything. You kind of need one book which gives you all your information, which is basic and simple. Later on in second year, I think I didn't really use any textbooks. I used many online resources, which I'll go on to talking about. And from third year onwards, things got a bit serious. You kind of have to look at the latest guidelines because we're learning about management, treatment and diagnosis. So from third year onwards, I used BMJ best practice, NICE guidelines, Oxford Handbook and Cowarren clocks. Moving on to online resources. First year, along with the books that I mentioned, I used Armando Hassurgan, who's a YouTuber who's got really good videos on anatomy and physiology. Definitely check out his video. I'll be showing you later my notes that I used watching his videos. So Armando Hassurgan was one. Khan Academy was really good. Handwritten tutorials. I didn't use it as much as I did with the others, but yeah, I definitely remember using handwritten tutorials. Then for anatomy, I used Anatomy Zone. I used to watch those Anatomy Zone videos and I used to make little diagrams and like annotations, and that's how I used to make my anatomy notes. So Anatomy Zone was really good for that. So another online resource that I used was Dr. Najib's lectures. I know there are a lot of people who just do not like Dr. Najib's lectures because of how long they are, but I absolutely love Dr. Najib's lectures because yes, like each topic he would go on for about like 6-7 hours, but the thing is when I was watching them, because he like repeats it and repeats it and repeats stuff, it kind of gets like drilled into your brain. His videos are really detailed. He will properly teach you, like go over and over again, like as if like you're back in school and your teacher's kind of teaching you. If you've been on to like tuition and stuff, that's how they teach you, and I found it like really helpful. So Dr. Najib's lectures, I will highly recommend it for anyone in second year. Most of my second year notes are from Osmosis. It has like the right amount of pathophysiology, clinical features, and it gives you like a brief summary of like the diagnosis and management, and I found it really useful, really well summarized, and they're really good. Moving on, there are a couple of other things that I used apart from online videos and books. Is definitely past medicine. I can't stress enough how useful past medicine was from third year onwards. Third, fourth, fifth years, get past medicine, use it, so good. An easy way of revising, you can just carry it on your phone, you can come home, do it on your laptop. It's just really straightforward revision. So the first way that I revised in first year was to write notes. And when I mean write, I used to write like essays, right? I just didn't know how to revise. Like I mentioned at the beginning, like I never used to make any notes when I was in school. Never made notes in my life, I don't think. So coming to medical school and knowing that I had to collect my resource to study from was really hard, and I just didn't know how to do it. So as you can see here, I did spend a lot of time coloring and trying to make really pretty notes. Don't do it, like guys, just don't. Like it's just a waste of time. Before, for me, like priority was to have pretty notes, but looking back, like it doesn't help. Like it can be scribbles and you'll understand more rather than like spending a lot of time making it aligned, making it color coded, making the diagrams look like super nice. Like it's just not worth it. It's just a waste of time because you have so many things to get through. I think I made pretty notes till about like when I started med school, September, October. By November I was like, yeah, this is not happening. Like I just don't have the time. So I stopped like making beautiful notes. These notes were made using Armando Hassurgan's immunology videos. Absolutely amazing, because he explains things really well. He uses a lot of diagrams. So this is my attempt of replicating what he was drawing. Like I was trying to make sense of it and like do my own drawing. But then I realized I was spending way too long like making diagrams and like flow charts and stuff. And then I think it was during that time where he started to upload his images. So everything that he was drawing on the screen, he would leave like a PDF file. So then what I started doing was I just started to print out those documents that he was uploading, and then I would annotate on top of that. It saved me a whole lot of time. So yeah, in first year, one of the mistakes I made was I did everything to like a crazy amount of detail, because I thought you're in medical school, you need to know everything. So that's the kind of mentality I had at that time. In terms of anatomy, I used Anatomy Zone most of the time. I also used notes given by the uni. We had like something called Hawk Notes, which was also really useful. I used to study from them and also from like Anatomy Zone. So these are my anatomy notes. As you could see, I used to just make like rough sketches and like annotate them. Yeah, again, used to write a lot of notes. Yeah, and then used to spend a lot of time trying to, again, like I said, making pretty notes. This is my hand, muscles in the hand, you can see. I love drawing, so I guess that's why I just felt like it's therapeutic, you know, sitting there and drawing muscles. Again, learning about the brachial plexuses. Used to color code it, annotate it properly. These are like all the arteries in your hand and wrist. I don't know if I needed to know this in first year, but I just didn't know what to study in first year, so I just studied everything that I could find. So as you can see, this is my hand and all the arteries. This is actually my hand, by the way. I put this is my hand. Yeah, so these are my anatomy notes. As you could see, just watched Anatomy Zone and made notes from it, and also used Gray's Anatomy, like the big textbook. Another way to revise anatomy is to get the Gray's flashcards. I had the Gray's flashcards and also I think it was the Netter's, but I found the Gray's to be better. Like I said before, I used like resources like BMJ and NICE guidelines and Kumar and Clark's to make these notes. And what I did was sat down, had all 3 or 2 of the websites up in front of me. I had the Oxford Handbook next to me as well, and I would be like, okay, clinical features, I will read all of the stuff and then pick out the main ones and write it down. Same with investigation, I just used to summarize it, and for each topic I summarized it in 1 page. Okay, yeah, can you see it? Probably can't see it, but I will show you a clearer video on the side. But yeah, so I've kind of summarized everything into 1 page. Very basic image, just so I have something to look at and visualize. Again, you could see the aortic dissection summarized in a page. And this is pulmonary embolism summarized in a page. It has all the information from epidemiology to causes, pathology, risk factors, clinical features, investigations, management, everything. Because I was revising with someone, it was hard for us to like share these notes because I had it with me and I had to kind of either take a picture or scan it in, and it just wasn't working. And I also thought these notes were made in 3rd year, and I thought I have to know this for my finals as well, so it's best to kind of have it online. So then I decided to type up these notes, and yeah, and then I made the topic notes that I showed you guys before, like the preeclampsia one, and like this is my antepartum hemorrhage, again in 1 page. So yeah, it's the same kind of format as my written ones, which was like each condition per page, but then I started typing it up. So I'm a visual learner, so I kind of remember things in terms of where I placed certain information on a page, what color it was. I'll think of the image that was attached to it, and I used a lot of mnemonics and so forth. So then I made this book where I converted all my typed up notes into like all the information that I need to remember, all the key points, and I did this. So I personally found like leukemias and lymphomas to be like really hard. I just didn't used to like remember it. Like I wasn't able to like retain that information. So then I realized as a visual learner, I decided to kind of convert my page into like little boxes, okay? And then I would just write key information about each of them, like buzzwords, onto each of the columns. So yeah, that's really helpful for me. So if this helps you, then do this. So yeah, this is another way of studying. Another thing that you guys could do, print out your lecture slides beforehand or get it up on your computer, whatever works for you, and then annotate on those lecture slides. On the lectures that I feel like I can focus and I'm kind of understand what they're saying, I used to do this. But if it was completely like gibberish in my brain, I just used to leave it and just do my notes when I get home. But yeah, if this works for you, go for it. Like, take your lecture slides with you during your lecture, make notes on those lecture slides. So that way you will have all the information you need all in one place and you don't need to make additional notes when you get home. So another way of revising is flashcards. I used my typed up lengthy notes and I condensed my entire 2nd year into flashcards. I literally sat in the library 2 months before the exam and I converted everything into flashcards. And to be honest, I'm really proud of this. And each color is for a different system. For example, let me show you guys. This whole page, this was like 5 pages for me. I converted it into a flashcard, like double-sided. This is on like valvular heart disease, so let me show you guys. So this is valvular heart disease. Like you can see, I've written a little bit about investigation and management, all the signs. I just put down all the information into different columns, summarize the whole of mitral stenosis in like one little corner, like this corner. Yeah, it was really good. But having said that, I would never make flashcards ever again because I just feel like this is everything on my notes just crammed together in a smaller writing. yeah, I'm just not a fan anymore. At that time I thought it was a good idea, but if flashcards work for you, then go for it, because this meant I didn't have to walk around. This is my second year folder. I didn't have to walk around with my folder. Everything on here I've kind of summarized into this. I need to show you one more thing, which is making like little tables and sheets, and just stick it around your room. I used to even have, I think this was stuck on my toilet door, so in the morning when I used to sit in the toilet, I used to, yes, read about epiglottitis and croup. But this was really helpful for me, and I'm not going to say I'm used to look at it every time before I go to sleep, but once or twice a week I would just glance over it. So just going to move on to how I did my notes in 3rd and 4th year. So you see these 2 books, I binded my notes in the library. I printed them all out and I binded it into books, and this has all my notes from 4th year, all my lectures and all my CBL notes, and it's all in one place. And yeah, and I just had to, when I had to revise for finals, I just used to carry these 2 books around. So these are my 3rd year notes and my 4th year notes. It was all in one place and I absolutely loved it. So I'm just going to show you some of the work that I did. For example, for CBL, like you can see, this is about restrictive lung disease and pulmonary hypertension. So I just used to look at the learning objectives in the curriculum document, and these are all the learning objectives for that particular CBL. So I would have the learning objectives over here, and then the answer to that. See, learning objective, answer, learning objectives, answers. And as I went along, I highlighted things and wrote little mnemonics down as well, so I can remember it easier. So that's how I did my written notes, and I will highly recommend you guys to do this. Go get your curriculum document out, get a Word document, write those learning objectives, and under each of the objectives, answer that learning objectives. And use resources like your NICE guidelines, BMJ, Oxford Handbook, or whatever like trustworthy books out there, and make your notes like that. And then so in 4th year, as soon as I did each CBL, I condensed all my notes into a big massive mind map, and I've done that throughout really. Like again, as you can see, this is all about like MSK conditions in pediatrics. I made mind maps about that as well. The only thing is, this was really good way of revising. It was kind of active learning, because I was writing down a word and then writing out everything I remember about it. But the only downfall is I'm someone who likes to have my notes like in a specific order or in different parts. I just don't like it when it's all over the place. It's like just doesn't go into my brain after that. So I stopped looking at this after I kind of did it. So it was good to revise using it, but I would never go back to these mind maps because I'm not a mind map kind of person. So I rolled out mind maps from my method of revision. But yeah, I've still included it in this book because it looks pretty. I just wanted to show you guys my dermatology notes, and these were given to me by one of my best friends, Vishal. A big shout out to him because he literally saved my life at different points during medical school, because he used to share some of his notes with me, and which is very generous of him. So these are his dermatology notes. They're absolutely brilliant. He's kind of like summarized the whole of derm that we need to know for medical school into about 5 pages, and he's just got things like to the point, just the information we need to do. I mean, that's the way he does his notes. It's very brief, very super summarized, so he knows a little bit about everything in the world. So I've always, throughout medical school, I've revised with my revision buddy who I mentioned at the start of the video. Big shout out to SUMMARISED. We've kind of revised from first year all the way till our finals, and we've both passed our finals. So we went through everything at least 5 times. So that was just the best way to revise, because it's all about repetition. So my biggest advice in medical school is get yourself someone who you can revise with, who you can share your notes with, split the notes. It literally cuts down your workload by half, and it's just the best way to revise. And I revise well with someone else because I like it when I can discuss what I'm studying, when someone else asks me a question. That's just the way I study, and it worked brilliantly for me. Now, moving on, another way that you could set out your notes is by doing it in like a question answer format, and this is really helpful, especially when you come to revise. You could kind of cover up all the answers, look at the questions and see if you can say the answers out loud or even write the answers out. This way you know that everything on your revision notes, you know it by heart because you're able to answer each of the questions. So another method of revision that I used during medical school was an app called QUIZLET. I'm just going to go through QUIZLET, which is very similar to Anki cards, to be honest, but I think Anki cards are better. So as you can see over here, so there's 56 cards for contraception, and yeah, so there's loads and loads of questions. So QUIZLET is a really good way of revising because it really helps you to kind of do it in a question and answer format, and it's also quite fun to do it with someone else as well. Like you could ask the question, the other person can answer it, then you can swap around. Again, it kind of makes revision more fun, right? And the last way of revision that I wanted to go through with you guys, similar to QUIZLET where you do it online, if you don't want to use your phone or like an electronic device but you prefer having the cards out in front of you, so the best way for you to do it is my card. This contains all my third year notes in a flashcard format. Okay, so yeah, so this whole box is filled with questions. You can see like plenty of questions in there. So it's a great form of revision and a great way to test yourself as well. So guys, that's all from me. I've gone through all the different methods that I've used to revise throughout my medical school, and you never know until you try which one works best for you. If there are any methods in here which you feel are really good and you really like, or you're going to adapt into your own revision, please do let me know. Do comment down below. And if I was to just finish off by giving you like my top tips for revision, so number one would be to plan. Like planning is the best thing you could do. Be sensible at the start of the year or every semester. Start with a good plan so you know exactly what you're doing, so you're not spending each time when you come and sit at your desk, you're not thinking of, oh, what should I be doing today? What should I do tomorrow? Am I going to finish my revision on time? If you make a plan, that way you'll know exactly what you're doing every single day. So make a plan and stick to it, and make realistic plans. That way you won't be disappointed if you are running behind your schedule. Number two would be to find the method that works best for you. Like you must have watched other YouTube videos, or after watching my video, or from your own experience, pick one or two things that work best for you, stick to it. Number three would be careful about the resources that you use. Don't go crazy on finding everything out there and getting all different resources, going to the library, taking 10 different books. It's just not needed. Just pick one or two books that works best for you, pick one or two YouTube videos or channels that work best for you, and stick to it. Number four, I would say, is one of the most important one, is to get yourself someone to work with. And again, a big shout out to Samira. Thank you so much for all your help. Or for the past 5 years, would not have been able to do this without you. Lastly, it would be, don't stress about not knowing everything. Like just stick to knowing a little bit about everything. Don't go into too much depth. Just keep it simple, keep it brief, keep it summarized, and keep it concise. So yeah, those will be my top 5 tips for you guys out there starting medical school, or if you are doing your finals or midway through the year, whatever your year you're in, like just you can do this. And I hope my video helps you. If you found this video to be helpful, do give it a thumbs up. Also let me know what techniques you've used and if it's anything different to what I've done already. And do feel free to message me if you have any questions. Do follow me on my Instagram. And that's all from me, guys. Bye-bye.